Blessed to be with you, Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Thank you all for joining us. And don't forget the KIDO Talk Radio app. And if you have the KIDO Talk Radio app, you'll get a notification that I've sent later on this morning concerning the markets, what's going to happen, who the president blames, and, of course, your chance to take a look and listen to and a read to that. The app is free. Just go to the App Store and Google Play, and you can check it out. And, we're maybe giving you maybe 3 or 4 notifications a day. That's about the biggest of it. We don't really try to spam you so much because, well, we want to earn that real estate on your phone. Anyway, joining us now from the RNC, our great friend, Cassie Smedley. Cassie, good to have you with us.
Hey, Kevin, great to be with you.
We take a look at, what was life like without our phones? You know what I mean? It's just, we're promoting this, our new app here. And the funny thing about it is, I don't know about you, but, and I'm sure because you're so plugged in, you get like notifications 24 hours a day.
I know, that's right. And I love how you said that. We want to earn our real estate on your phone because I've been thinking about that too. I've just started putting timers and things on social media so that I'm spending more time on more meaningful apps, whether that's reflections or just things that actually encourage me to interact with my family and stuff. So you really do. We are at a point where we should prioritize it, but certainly news needs to be there too, and curating it so that it's a good sampling and not all negative.
Boy, how did we live without these notifications? You know what I mean? It's just kind of crazy.
Oh, my goodness. I think we lived quite well. We talked to our neighbors, and we turned on the news for a half hour a day, and we listened to the radio for a couple hours a day, and then we went about our lives.
Now, wait a minute. You're a very young lady. But you sound like an old soul. We appreciate that, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you for that.
I was raised by great parents.
Well, that certainly makes a difference. Let's talk a little bit about our favorite topic, the presidential race. It's still a ways off, but Labor Day really kicks off the official season. Joe Biden's making a lot of gaffes. Now, I understand you're very busy, but for me, fun was watching the C-SPAN feed of the Iowa State Fair, where you had all the candidates saying how bad everything was, Tim Ryan saying he needed a beer or Miller Lite or what have you. Really relevant things to try to relate. Your thoughts on the current state of the Democratic field?
Oh, my goodness. No, that was a very entertaining week for us. Watching that, and you've got Elizabeth Warren, who's taken out to the field by a farmer, and he basically tells her everything she's trying to proclaim with the Green New Deal is horrible for farmers. Then you've got Joe Biden, who grabs a female activist, but a female activist who was asking him a question, grabs her by the arm and says, "Don't mess with me, kid." And that's another Joe Biden moment. But I think my favorite was in the middle of Iowa, which of course we know is great for farms and agriculture and cows and cattle. Cory Booker goes on a hunt for a vegan PB&J, and he found it. But that just tells you how out of place he and so many other Democrats really were in Iowa and how out of touch they were with so many people in Iowa and across the country. But that was my favorite moment.
Boy, talk about not being relatable. And Senator Booker, keep up the good work. Now, over the weekend, a lot of folks watch the shows. I'm watching the shows. And just the overall tone, the personal attacks on the president, not only by the Democratic presidential candidates, which you would expect a higher calling as opposed to what we have with the press, but the press as well, they've really gone into overdrive to try and malign President Trump.
Oh, my goodness. I mean, as if there wasn't enough out there on Twitter. And as you say, with the presidential candidates in particular, you have hosts of show, journalists, quote unquote, who are supposed to just be arbiters of the news and deliver it to you and then maybe bring in other people who can offer an opinion, who say the president's trying to, I think the word was eradicate. Is that right? Nicole Wallace from MSNBC, eradicate Latinos, exterminate, maybe I think she said. You know, remember, Nicole Wallace is supposed to be the Republican voice on MSNBC, and that's what you've got going there on the moderate side. Chuck Todd, of course, can hardly help himself these days. And the problem is, and you see it in the rating, the president talks about this a lot. He's a guy who knows about ratings, but people just turn it off because back to the start of our conversation, I think we're all looking for, we want truth and we want facts, but we also feel like it's so out of step with the reality of our lives, and we're all searching to be better connected with our families and friends and to be better stewards of our communities. And this just all runs contrary to that. Every time you turn on the TV and see this 24/7 negative coverage of the president, when, by the way, we've talked about the tragedies, of course, in El Paso and Dayton. The only person who's talking about doing something about it is Donald Trump. Everyone else is too busy calling Donald Trump a racist. Meantime, he's out there trying to do something to prevent this from happening in the future. Same on the economy. They breathlessly talked about the Dow having a bad day yesterday, completely ignoring all of the historic economic indicators that would say, actually, this is different than what we've seen in the past. Of course, record low unemployment, record 10 months of wage growth. You've got more people working. You've got more people taking on new jobs, buying homes. I mean, all of these indicators, no, toss it out the window. It's another day to harp on the president. I think people see right through it, and that's why we turn it off and hopefully are running outside enjoying the nice weather.
Cassie Smedley joining us. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. She's from the RNC. Okay, let's take a look at the battle for Congress. In Idaho, we're going to be fine. In Idaho, I think we're the victim of our own success. There really isn't a lot of competitive races. I get jealous of Montana because that state seems to be in play. They get a lot more, big-time attention. But you have some people retiring on the Republican side, but you have the president on the ticket. What does that mean for the House battles?
Absolutely. Well, what we see on the retirements, first of all, again, another misnomer by the media, is people retire every single cycle. And the difference is, what do you do in terms of recruiting good candidates? And that's something that our friends at the NRCC, the National Republican Campaign Committee, who works with the House reelections, that they work to do. And there's other great organizations out there who have actually put together great lists of candidates and are making sure they have the access that they need. And then once access to good volunteers and data that they need. And then once they get on the ballot, then of course the RNC is right there for them. But you make an excellent point about the literal Trump card of Donald Trump. There is a different voter who comes out and votes for President Trump who did not vote in the midterms. We know in any given state, there is about 10 to 20,000 voters. I'm sorry, not in any given state, sometimes in districts that voted for President Trump, stayed home in the midterms. And that's, I would say, we know turnout's always higher in a presidential election year, but this Trump voter in particular. And so we also are not taking anything for granted, but factoring that in, that when you look at the economic climate and when you talk to people on the ground about the priorities in their lives, at their kitchen table, in their communities, and in our country, they line up with the results that you see from President Trump. I mean, I was just, right before I came on with you, I was looking at Kayleigh McEnany's Twitter. I know she's been on the program before, and now she's with the campaign, and she goes out ahead of the rallies and talks to folks in line. And she was talking to some Democrats, lifelong Democrats, who came out to vote for President Trump in 2016, first time in 30-something years they'd ever voted for a Republican candidate. And now not only are they camping out 36 hours ahead of time, but they're volunteering. They're bringing their friends. We see that everywhere, that people who started for the first time with us in 2016 are now not only back with the president, but they're bringing other people to show up and be a part of the movement too. So those are the types of indicators that you're not going to see covered on cable news, but that we're incorporating into our grassroots program every day.
Well, and let's face it, the media is not going to give the president or the Republicans a break.
No, no, but you know how it felt in 2016 when Hillary Clinton lost and President Trump won, and everybody was shocked and bewildered, and there must have been something wrong, and who were these people? Well, that's because those folks were probably just tuned in ad nauseum to cable news, and many of them were on cable news themselves. But we see this again. I mean, our model, as we talked about before, is neighbor to neighbor. And we don't just parachute people in a couple months before the election. And that's the feedback we get then as well from our volunteers who we train, and they have a very specific training process. But they come back and they tell us what they're hearing on the ground. And that dictates how we engage with voters. And the way we engage with voters in Idaho may be very different than Montana, believe it or not. There just may be some little issues tweaked one way or the other that we have to be mindful of when we're talking to folks and knocking on your door. And that's the benefit of having the fundraising dollars that we have and the program that's supported by the president that we're able to go out and deploy for the president and all Republicans. And it's fine if the media gets it wrong. It's fine if they don't cut them any slack. It's fine if they doubt us every step of the way, because we deal with real people and real information and real data.
Well, and certainly that is going to resonate. Should we be looking forward to, Cassie, when Congress comes back in session?
Well, hopefully passage of the USMCA. There is no reason why Congress has not ratified the U.S.-Mexico-Canada trade agreement. We know the benefits it would have, especially, I know you and I talked about this before, when the news is being dominated by China. We wouldn't even have to worry about China if we had the USMCA. Imagine what we could do if we just moved all of the focus to North America. And we did and said, okay, China, you go off and do what you're going to do. Their economy is already taking a big hit because of the tariffs that we've put on it. Imagine what you could do if we were able to move that much more of the business right here. And you can go north and south to do business and assemble things. And we already do a lot of it, but to negotiate a better trade deal, which I think the president has done, that would just really take China out of the equation. That's their biggest nightmare, I think, is if we ratify the USMCA. So let's do it.
Our great friend Cassie Smedley joining us here, KIDO Talk Radio. Now, I hope you're not going to be leaving to hit the trail like Kaylee did. We see her, we've seen you, and we get used to you guys. So,
well, and we like to stay in touch. No, I love my spot at the RNC, and I would never give up an opportunity to see you guys. But I hope you guys will still get to talk to Kaylee and all those team, and it's been really fun. This is new. I know we're running short on time, but to have the relationship with the president's team, because of course he started his reelection campaign the day after his inauguration. So this benefits the voters to have these sort of relationships over there, and they with us and they with our state parties. That means that we're all working together. We've all always been on the same team, but sometimes historically people kind of run different plays, even though they're all working towards the same goal. So it's nice to all be together and know each other really well. And I just love the team that they've put together over there.
Well, that's a very valid
Kaylee,
point.
Of course, one of them.
That's a very valid point, an insightful point, that you've had sometimes the party and the candidate, even the president, at different ends. So it's great that everybody's united.
Definitely. Well, we've got a lot to fight for. We've got a lot to be proud of, but certainly with the Democrats and all of their radical policies, there's a real chance that one of them could get the opportunity to implement those policies, and any one of them would be devastating for all of us. And so that's a cause worth rallying behind, and it's awesome to have a great team to do it with, and certainly a president who supports all of us going out there and getting it done for people.
Cassie, we appreciate you. Stay out of trouble, and please keep your powder dry.
Thank you. Same to you.
Thank you. All right, Cassie Smedley joining us. That's the right way to get off the day, talking about the economy, talking about just the challenges. It's funny, and we've talked about this before at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, where the media, it's not like they are literally cheering for the economy to tank. They want, and how many of you remember the election of Barack Obama? And taking nothing away from Barack Obama, and echoing what our friend Sean Hannity said a little yesterday, Obama had a brilliant campaign team. Obama also had a loving media. And even then, it wasn't like he ever blew out Mitt Romney. It wasn't like he ever blew out John McCain. And, of course, John McCain had the unlucky timing to be the Republican nominee when the Bush economy imploded. And even then, it took these outside mitigating factors to help Obama get elected. But you talk about the media openly cheering. What type of people would cheer for people to lose their jobs, for people to have that economic uncertainty? It's just crazy. Coming up, we are going to get your reaction to the shootings in Philadelphia. More people calling for tighter gun control. Will this really keep us safe? We'd love to hear from you as we start the day on the right side. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Blessed to be with you, Kevin Miller in the morning at KIDO Talk Radio. Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO. So before we get to the gun story, obviously the shootings that happened in Philadelphia, you have, again, calls for greater gun control. We have this new Fox News poll. We'll get to that coming up. But a story that, and by the way, you're welcome to jump in anytime, join the conversation at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. But the other day we were talking about behaving appropriately, being a role model in public. And this Chris Cuomo story has come and gone. And if you're not familiar with it, Sean Hannity was talking a little bit about it. Sean Hannity being a class act in defending Chris Cuomo. I don't think I know if the situation was reversed, Cuomo wouldn't do the same for Sean. But that's one thing I always admire about Sean is you have people that really go after him, and he is just a charming young man. So somebody came up to Chris Cuomo and said, "Hey, what's up, Fredo?" Chris Cuomo lost it. Okay. We all lose things. We lose our tempers. That's why we're human, right? You know how it is. We send that email, that response. I'm going to show them. And then, then we obsess about it incessantly until there's some type of resolution. And it really never is. We lose our tempers. It really, these days, it doesn't pay to lose your temper anymore. That's why we thank law enforcement officers. We thank people in the public for having restraint. But you can't sit there and whine about being called names and such. It's the old thing. If you can't take it, don't dish it out. And at 580-5436, Chris Cuomo just flipped out. But, I mean, he's called the president names. He's called Republicans names. So somebody comes up to him and says, "Look, what's up, Fredo?" Now, Cuomo was there with his wife. He was there with his 9-year-old daughter. And then he just loses it. But, Chris, you're not 29. You're 49. I think we can all relate to this. Because we don't live our lives like a Chuck Norris or a Rock. We don't punch people in the faces, right? 580-5436, 580-KIDO. You'll hear Chris Cuomo, and not only is it about Chris Cuomo, but it's just more of a man check, a woman check for all of us on how we don't want to act, how we don't want to behave. But first, KIDO Talk Radio, traffic and weather together. Let's get you to work. Man, I missed the good morning, Kevin. All right, Larry, be that way. Let's get back to this issue here. See, it's all about being pithy and petty. This is my point exactly, right? Look, have some empathy, have some self-deprecation. All right, so thanks to Sean Hannity and the Fox News Channel, we can air this finally on KIDO Talk Radio. I believe this is important because it's a lesson to all of us that we don't have to misbehave in public. And sometimes, again, police officers have to handle this all the time, where they have to deal with people that are not very nice and are looking to provoke people, right? Let's take a listen.
Don't insult me like that.
I didn't insult you.
Call me Fredo. It's like I call you punk. You like that? You want that to be your nickname?
I didn't call you that.
You called me Fredo. You know my name's not Fredo.
I thought your name was.
You did not think my name was Fredo. Don't be a liar. I'll ruin you. I'll throw you down these stairs like a punk.
Please do.
Why, so you can sue?
You don't want
so you
to
can sue?
Well, why don't you do it?
Go take a swing. You want to call me Fredo? Take a swing.
I'm not going to swing
Take a swing.
Last night on Twitter, I defended Cuomo. He did not start this because I don't support harassment of any public figure, especially in front of their children.
Good point, Sean. Good point. On the other hand, how many times have Sarah Huckabee Sanders, how many times have conservatives been attacked? It doesn't make it right, but if the libs are going to dish it out, they have to be able to take it. And really, comparing the term Fredo, which is a name, there are a lot of people named Fredo. It was very popular after The Godfather came out. Yes, he was known as the weak son. Chris Cuomo refers to himself as the Fredo. And then he says that's like the N-word for Italians. And then you have some of the wacky, crazy, wacky libs when they're not hugging trees. I'm not making this up. Actually saying, well, Cuomo, that's white privilege. Cuomo, you're out of touch. Oh, my goodness. Talk about the loony left. The lesson here for all of us is we don't want to behave like Chris Cuomo. We don't want to be an embarrassment to our family. We don't want to, act like we're Steven Seagal or whomever. Sure, it's fun. I can remember one time where that happened to me. Somebody mouthed off to me. It's the last time I ever got into a fight. And I go to this place, and this guy, I go, well, I'm going to get you. He goes, okay. And I'm going, whoops, he's not backing down. And before I know it, I'm out in the parking lot. The guy takes a swing. I put him in an arm bar, and I'm holding him down. Let me up so I can get you. I'm not letting you up so you can get me. Right then and there, I'm thinking I could get arrested. These bad things can happen. What the heck is going on? It's always good to take a step back before we send an email, right? I know it's tempting. Or maybe you're like Chris Cuomo, whatever, and want to be a tough guy. I don't know. Anyway, you're listening to Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Our time is 6:31. Good morning, Maggie. Thank you, Sean Hannity. Don't forget Lars Larson following Sean Hannity. Coming up.
I was so impressed by how open and creative and innovative and committed that this community was. And for me, it was so exciting to see, the university has been ranked nationally for innovation. And that is a real sign of an institution that's willing to be nimble and to think creatively about how to really make an impact for their students, in their research, in their service, and the work that they do for the state. And so for me, that felt really wonderful. And I didn't even know at that time how nice everyone was going to be, I love the kindness in the community. And so it was like this wonderful added bonus, once I got here. But that was so exciting to me. What I saw as possible here was a real thrill to me.
There you have it. Dr. Marlene Trump talking to Channel 7. It's fascinating listening to Maggie's story here when we're talking about Boise State University, where Boise State University continues to raise tuition, as, in fairness, all other public universities do in the state of Idaho. If you're bringing in more people, you've got more money, why do you need to continue to raise tuition? And if more people are coming in from out of state, why not raise the out-of-state tuition more than the in-state folks? Shouldn't the Idaho kids, the Idaho parents, the Idaho grandparents get a break? Tom in Nampa with Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Tom.
Good morning. I was just reading the Breitbart. Seems like 600 Google employees says they're not going to help out ICE with some of the programming. It just strikes me as a little odd that company and the people it employs won't have anything to do with an agency of the U.S. government, but have no problem in working on computer programs for the Chinese government. I really do think the U.S. government is a little bit better than the People's Republic of China when it comes to things like human rights, rule of law, not sending in troops to remove protesters at an airport. Apparently, the morality of Google is limited to how much money they're going to make off it. They're making a lot of money by working with the Chinese government. They're not making as much as working with the U.S. government. So for all their self-righteousness and wrapping themselves in the mantle of moral superiority, Google ultimately is about money. Does the left have any decency at all? Or is the hypocrisy so widespread and deeply rooted that it just doesn't make any difference?
They hate.
Where's everybody else?
America.
Where's Hollyweird? They're always saying how morally superior they are. You're working with a repressive, totalitarian government, and you're doing it so you can make a couple of extra bucks. What's wrong with these people?
They hate America.
Does that necessarily mean they have to love the Chi-Coms? You want to talk about a repressive regime? You want to talk about concentration camps? Why don't you ask the Uyghurs which concentration camp they'd rather be in? The one run by ICE or the one run by the People's Republic of China? Where's the squad talking about that? I hear the crickets. Geez, have a clue, people? Or is it just Chinese won't get them any votes? Are they so morally bankrupt they can't even bring themselves to say, China, you shouldn't ought to run people over with tanks, which I think is coming. But really, is there no limit to the left's hypocrisy?
Nope.
I'm sorry. I saw this. I'm like, you got to be kidding. I can't remember when it was. The early 1930s. IBM had come out with you remember the old punch cards? The old
Sure.
paper punch cards they used to have for computers? IBM's first major sale of those things was to the German government in the early, mid-1930s. They used it to tabulate the census that they held. One of the questions on the census was religion. So a few years later, they knew where all the Jews were. Okay, early 1930s, nobody really knew how bad the Nazi government was. Google knows how bad the Chi-Com government is. And they still do business with them.
Well, they do. And Tom, we appreciate the call. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. And really, I want to thank Ray Amaya for this one. He's on vacation. Jared's in for him, doing a great job. But this is the type of world we're fighting against.
If we want to defeat capitalism, we are going to need a party that will organize working people to fight for the demands that we want and to win socialism. Thank you so much.
Quick point of privilege. Quick point of personal privilege.
Yes.
Guys, first of all, James Jackson, Sacramento, he, him. I just want to say, can we please keep the chatter to a minimum? I'm one of the people who's very, very prone to sensory overload. There's a lot of whispering and chatter going on. It's making it very difficult for me to focus. Please, can we just, I know we're all fresh and ready to go, but can we please just keep the chatter to a minimum? It's affecting my ability to focus. Thank you.
Thank you, comrade. Okay, is there a speaker against name, chapter, pronoun?
Point of personal privilege.
Yes.
Please do not use gendered language to address everyone.
There we have it. Everybody's a victim. Everybody's sensitive. Everybody has an issue. Nobody likes capitalism. This is the world that we're fighting against. And not fighting in a bad sense, like we're going to the streets. No, that's Portland, Oregon. Speaking of which, how is the public, how is the world, how is the country reacting to the terrible shooting in Philadelphia yesterday? Let's take a listen to Rachel Sutherland with the latest Fox poll.
The poll, conducted after mass shootings in Dayton and El Paso, found an overwhelming majority, 90%, want to see more background checks. More than 80% support temporarily taking guns away from people deemed a threat to themselves or others. 2/3 want assault weapons banned. Still, by a 57 to 34% margin, voters would rather live in a country where guns are legal, and 38% report someone in their household owns a gun. President Trump's job rating has declined in the aftermath of the shootings, with 59% saying he's tearing the country apart. In Washington, Rachel Sutherland, Fox News.
And to the phones, Liberty Linda joins us now. Good morning.
Good morning, Kevin. Kevy, loan me your comb. Kevy, we get stars in our eyes every time we hear your show. We get stars in our eyes. We want to hear another Miller Minute. Kevy, loan me your comb. Anyway, I wrote that for you a long time ago. I don't know if you remember it or not.
It's been a while, but thank you.
Anyway, let's get down to business now. Kevin, I think I have a great idea. I think we should have gun control, however, only for the Democrats.
The libs.
Yeah, just for them. Whatever they put forth, let's go for it. It will be just for a law for them, though. Take those guns away from those crazy Dems. How about that?
Yeah,
Hello?
why don't we have the Democrats be the first to give up their guns?
Yeah, I'll go for that. That sounds good to me. Do you think they'll do it, though?
Well, you know the libs, do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I don't know anything about Fredo. I did, excuse me, I did see those movies a long time ago, but I don't really understand what all that is about or why someone would get so upset. You know, if somebody calls them, you know, can't you just let it go by you? And so anyway, that thing I don't understand at all. I don't know what's going on in Hong Kong. You watch it for a while and it's like, is this a joke? Anyway, that's what I was thinking about Hong Kong. I really don't know what's going on over there, so I hope some of your callers will explain it, or you can.
Well, you know, we probably should get a hold of Steve Yates. He knows all about that area, Taiwan, Hong Kong, and China. Maybe we can get him on next week to talk about it.
Oh, I would love to. I love Steve Yates. Yeah, that's a good idea, Kevin. Anyway, I wanted to tell you we love you and we love your show. So keep up your wonderful work you do.
Well, we love you, and even in Utah, you're listening.
Anyway. Oh, yeah, and Liberal Steve, I'm watching you. Mm-hmm.
There we have it.
We got it.
Liberty Linda, thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Boy, a troubling day on the markets yesterday, down 800 points. Joining us now, the original Save for Money specialist, our great friend Ron Grant. Good morning, Ron.
Good morning, guys. How are we doing today?
Not bad, but what a tough day for the markets.
Worst day of 2019 yesterday, Kevin. 800 points down. Market's in a ride here right now, and you know that's one of the reasons that I do what I do for myself and for my clients' money. We keep it safe, where you can't lose the principal, you can't lose the gains. We get a reasonable range of return, and we can provide a guaranteed lifetime income that you can't outlive. It's so important if you're getting ready to retire or you've already retired that we put that dignity money, the money you work so hard for, safe away where Wall Street can't get to it. I want to make sure you tune in Saturday for Kevin and I. We've got a great show. We're going to talk about how retirement moving forward will be so much different than from your parents. So please tune in on Saturday.
Saturday, 2 to 3. We look forward to that. Ron will be taking calls. But, Ron, what are your thoughts about this big 800-point drop?
Well, you know, the correction's been a long time coming. You know, back in 08 and 09 when the market tanked almost 50%, you know, my clients and I, we got a zero. And a zero is always better than a loss. My belief is don't lose it at all. Don't lose it in the first place and have to try to come back and make up stuff. So, yeah, it's going to be a rough ride for a while. And, you know, if you want to keep that money safe, it shouldn't be in Wall Street. That's, you know, my opinion. So. And
people don't have to wait till Saturday to hear from you. They can go to your website or they can call you.
Yeah, they can call me 208-660-1372. The website's got some great third-party educational information that they can go on there. We also got a free book that they can download, you know, 10 things to know about retirement income. So if you go to my website, that's safermoneyspecialist.com. And over to the right, there's a link there, iwantincomeforlife.com. Get that free book and take a look at it.
Ron Grant, can't wait to see you. Can't wait to hear you Saturday, 2 to 3. Thank you, sir.
All right, but you guys have a great day.
You too. Take care. All right, Mr. G in the house. Coming up next, Portland is getting ready for a showdown. Could we eventually see those violent shenanigans here? Give you the details, plus more of your calls and maybe more singing with Kevin Miller on your home for Hannity, KIDO Talk Radio. Blessed to be with you. Don't forget, we're just a few weeks away from the Spirit of Boise Balloon Classic. Going to be a great time thanks to Cap Ed Credit Union. It is free and open to the public. And Morrison Park, more details on KIDOTalkRadio.com. Let's go back to your calls, and we go to Hank. Hank, good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio.
I think the Federal Reserve Chairman waited too long to cut the discount rate or the interest rates. And when I talked to several months ago to Dave Petzel on your show, when he comes on his Monday thing, he disagreed with me about the Federal Reserve raising rates too fast, too fast, and thought it was about right. And I, at the time, disagreed, and I think the events have shown that I think I was closer to what was going on than Dave Petzel was, and I also think that this guy is also politically motivated in his behavior. I think Trump needs, as soon as if he gets an opportunity to replace him, I would replace him with no hesitation. Do not pass go. Do not collect 200 to get that chairman out of there and out of the Federal Reserve. And
so you believe it's another way to get to Trump?
Yes. And also, I think that there's some play with some big investors like Bloomberg and other big libs who are that have a lot of control in the market. Who also, I think, for their own motivations, are selling off in order to find a way to fuel getting rid of Trump. I think that if you look at the consensus on Wall Street, they're not pro Trump over there, and they like the open borders. They like the other stuff to put, and most of them are Democrat in their politics. And I think that there's a political motivation too, also in this sell-off going on too.
Hank, great call. Traffic and weather together. KIDO Talk Radio. And Kevin Miller in the morning. Coming up next, much more of your reaction to the shooting in Philadelphia. Calls for greater gun control, and we'll hear from one presidential candidate that says, yes, once elected, they will make gun confiscation part of their national agenda without the support of Congress. Oh, my. More on those stories coming up next on your home for Fox News, KIDO Talk Radio.